It was early October 2023 when over 3,500 young people gathered in the middle of a park for a music festival. Woodstock style with tenting and camping, electronic music though, when thousands of terrorists came upon the area and hundreds came upon the actual festival. At the end of the bloodiest massacre of any music festival in history, 411 people were killed, 44 people were kidnapped into Gaza. Today, 30 of those people still remain kidnapped. The stories of the Nova Music Festival in southern Israel from October 7, 2023 are horrifying. They're difficult to understand, they're difficult to comprehend, and easy to discount in the world that we're living in today. These days, even though the terrorists of that day from Hamas in Gaza filmed everything, they documented everything themselves and put it out to the world themselves, proud of what they were doing, the world still doubts what happened. The world just puts a question mark on it. Maybe it's AI, maybe it's exaggerated. But we know, as people here in the West, that evil does exist, and it's very important to look at evil in the eye so we can learn from it and learn the situations that can come upon us one day, and hopefully not, but you have to be ready. And the only way to do it is to really look at things honestly. With us today, to really understand what happened, is Ofir Amir, my friend, one of the founders and producers of the Nova Music Festival, along with a couple of his friends. He had an incredible ordeal himself on that date of October 7th, which we'll talk about. And also, since the October 7th massacre, he created the Nova Foundation, which really brings together first the 3,500 survivors or so from the Nova Festival and helps provide them therapies and a community so they can continue to move forward. On top of that, he's created a traveling exhibit all over the world that brings the actual pieces, at least, of the actual festival to different cities around the world with testimonies and videos and everything so you can see what actually happened. The Nova exhibit is here in Miami, where I live, for a couple months, and that's why he's in town. We're actually in his podcast studio. They created a studio in the exhibition itself to make sure they have a place where they can tell the story. They invited me to come do the podcast here to help broadcast the story, and I'm proud to do it. So, Ofir, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Gabe. Thank you for being here. And well, I met you almost 3 weeks ago, and I just want to say that from the moment that I met you, you immediately were so supportive and coming here the days after. And so I'm really grateful for that. And thank you for helping us, telling our story and show the world what happened.
Yeah, absolutely. This is us here in the United States, whether we're Jewish or not, when we see atrocities that happen all over the world, that could affect us, that are connected to us, it hits us hard. And when it's the Jewish community and the Jewish homeland that happens, it's even harder for us in the Jewish community here all over the world. So anytime we have an opportunity to connect and to help, that's what we take, and that's the community we have here in South Florida. So I'm happy you feel welcomed here, because we make every effort as a community to make sure you are welcome. Well, Ofir, let's kind of go through this a little bit methodically. There's a lot to talk about. First, let's start assuming people don't know what happened on October 7th, not all in Israel, but at the Nova Festival. Just set the stage for us and let's walk through a little bit of what happened, and then we'll get into what happened to you.
Yeah, so, well, October 6th for us as the producers of Nova, it was a dream come true. We worked on this festival. Our dream was to do the biggest festival in Israel. We've done many festivals before, but this was actually the biggest one that we produced. And it was also with collaboration with the festival, the biggest festival in Brazil. It's called Universo Paralelo. So it was a big deal for us. And so October 6th, when I arrived there, it was, well, it's very hard to describe this feeling, but pure happiness. You see, you walk into the festival, and then we first walk through the camping area. The camping area is huge. People, friends that didn't see each other for a long time, come and regroup and gather there and open and build this camping area. You know, it's their home for the next 24 hours. I always say it's like a small festival within the festival. And when you walk through, you see just, happy people, happy smiles. Our belief is, and this is also, one of our biggest value, that, once you're in the dance floor and we listen to the same music, we are all the same. Doesn't matter where you come from, who you are, what you do, what religion. we are all the same, and you can really feel this in the dance floor. Because
By the way, music does that for everybody, right? I mean, we think about music, it's a sort of, when we live in a very stressful world right now with so many crazy things happening all over the world, going to a concert, listening to music, getting immersed in that space is so important as a way to check out, right, of everything that's happening.
exactly. The dance floor is supposed to be the safest place on earth. You can be whoever you want to be, and no one will judge you. And you can see it. People dress up, even though it's not Halloween or Purim. They come dressed up because they feel this freedom, and so it was really incredible. Over almost 4,000 attendees, and we had tens of DJs from all around the world. 300 attendees came also from Europe, from all around the world, and they all came to Israel for this festival, just to dance together. So 6:29, this is the time when the rocket started. I was standing behind the DJ.
This is the morning, right?
It's 6:39 a.m. It's the sunrise. It's in the festival. This is one of the most epic moments when the sun rises and
It's why the logo is like a sun.
it's like a sun, exactly. It's a very special moment in the festival. Because the light, you dance in the dark the whole night with people around you, and then the sun comes up, and then you dance in the light, and then the people that you dance next to all night become suddenly your best friend. You see their faces, you see their eyes. It's very special. So I'm standing behind the main stage with another producer, and then we hear these noises, and we go into the front and immediately look up, and we see the rockets. And Raz, the other producers, asks me, "Do you think they will shut us down?" And it's always, I always think of that moment as, when you live in Israel, unfortunately, you're used to rockets being shot at you, and for him to asking me this question, it's like, in what world, right? Like, when you see rockets, you run. There's no question about it, and we are so naive, and you don't want to believe that this is happening. So
Also, the tolerance that the people in Israel have built up or had built up before October 7th, being okay with rockets coming as long as the Iron Dome intercepts them.
yeah,
They'll shoot rockets. We keep living our life, which is good on one hand because people have to move forward, but also
yeah.
asinine. Like, how can you live with rockets flying over your head?
So at that moment, this is what I'm telling him. I'm telling him this is why we have the Iron Dome,
Right.
no? So I think I hope we will continue dancing. So immediately the police comes running to the main stage. They tell the DJ to turn off the music, and they tell on the mic, well, they are yelling like red alert, so everyone will understand what's happening. And then again, you see half of the people are running towards the cars because the police tells them to evacuate. When you're in the south, you have like 15 to 20 seconds once you hear the sirens and to go to a safe place, to a shelter, to a bomb shelter. So they tell everyone to evacuate, and only half of the people are running to the cars and driving out. So we, as the producers, the first 30 minutes, you see the rockets. It's like, it was like, we had New Year a few days back ago. It looks like the same, but during daylight. And so,
And the explosions you're seeing in the air is the Iron Dome intercepting the missiles coming from Gaza in the air, right?
yeah, we see the Iron Dome. We see hundreds of missiles being shot at Israel. So the first 30 minutes, we help the police to evacuate everyone because it's now our responsibility. Even then, it's like people sitting in their camping area, and they say, "No, don't worry, we will wait until it's over, and then we will drive home." So at around 7:15, it's the first time that we get the news that someone was injured, that someone's got shot. Like three festival goers were shot in their car, and they were brought back to the festival area. We have a paramedic station and a police station. It's part of every big festival in Israel. So even when we see them, and I see them wounded, and the paramedics are taking care of them, you don't want to believe that these are terrorists. There's still this hope hope or thought that maybe it's criminal and not terrorists. Then we get, and then another friend, a DJ, his name is Matan Kido. He was a very good friend of mine. Unfortunately, he got murdered on that day. He comes running to me and yelling at us that his girlfriend on the way to the festival was also shot by terrorists. This is when we understand that that's not only, well, that there are more than one terrorist, or maybe the same.
It's not an isolated incident. Something big is going on.
Yeah, yeah. So, and even then, we don't feel the danger. Because again, when you live in Israel, terror attacks. And usually it takes 5 to 10 minutes until the terrorist is being neutralized.
And it's got to feel surreal. It's 6:30 in the morning. Probably nobody slept at night, or very little, in the middle of this music festival, sort of in this euphoric stage. Who knows what people were doing or not doing, but everybody was in this like pure happy stage. And for it to flip 1 second to the next, it's hard to comprehend almost.
It's crazy. It's crazy. It's like, well, it will take a lifetime for us to understand what really happened there on that day. So, so around 7:30, also my wife is calling me, and she lives in the center of Israel, and she's 9 months pregnant on that day. And I ask her, "What are you doing up?" See, like, we see the rockets, and we don't even think that it's going deep into Israel. It's not usual that rockets go until Tel Aviv. So she tells me I'm in the bomb shelter because there are sirens and rockets, and then, then I start to connect the dots. Okay, something is happening, but I have to make sure that that she is safe, and she doesn't worry about me, because I don't want her to get into labors. So I'm telling her that, don't worry, we're with the police, everything is fine here. So around 8:15, it's almost 2 hours after the rocket started. It took the terrorists almost 2 hours to get to the festival, because they didn't know that the festival was there. They didn't know about Nova. We know this because Shabak and the police officers, they interrogated the terrorists after October 7th, and they told us they had no idea. They had their plan, they had their maps, they knew where they where they need to go next. The plan was to go further into Israel, and then they saw so many cars on the 232 road. That's one road going north and south. They saw all these cars coming out of this area, so they called the terrorists, their friends, come over here. There's something going on here. And then there was, of course, the paragliders that flew above the festival and saw it. And so at around 8:15.
By the way, just to stop at that a second, because it's not widely known. Most people think that the attack by Hamas and the civilians there, quote unquote civilians who came across with them, that they targeted the Nova Festival. And what you're saying is that it's known that they did not target the Nova Festival. They happened upon it. And probably why it's because the way you organize these festivals is you actually don't tell anyone where the location is for a few days, till a few days before. Is that right?
Yeah.
If you think about it, and it's hard to think about, and we haven't spoken about this before, but if you think about it in a way, it's hard to even reach a conclusion in my head on it. But the impact of the terrorists stopping at the Nova Festival may have saved a much wider massacre, because if they would have been spread out into more and more communities, it would have been even more difficult to fight back. Because once the IDF responded, it did take 2 to 3 days to get out all the terrorists that had come through, but they were all in that area. They didn't get to central Israel, which was their plan.
Yeah, that was their plan. So, like I heard this before, like, many times, but it's like,
it's too hard to
yeah,
to connect. I think we need a few decades to look back, right? To disconnect and be able to look at it more neutrally.
Yeah.
Anyway, so tell me, so you were speaking to the DJ who came running to you and said, "This is my girlfriend was shot."
Yeah.
Your wife calls you. She's in a bomb shelter in central Israel. It took 2 hours, and suddenly the terrorists showed up at the festival.
So when they showed up, they surrounded us from every direction. They came with their pickup trucks with heavy machine gun on the pickup truck and RPGs. They first killed all the police officers that were keeping us safe, because the police officers were blocking the main road. And then we saw all the people that were hiding between the cars, running back towards us. And this is when I see them driving and shooting into the crowd. People are running and falling down. The bullets hit next to us. And this is when I understand, okay, this is real. There's no doubt, like, this is real. I'm running the opposite direction. And the opposite direction brings me to the parking area. And we jump into a car with my friends. We regroup at the parking area. We jump into a car with 7 people in the car. And for the next hour, we didn't know where to go because we know now that there are terrorists. We know already on the news, and my father calls me. We know they have pickup trucks. We know they're with bicycles. We know they're taking soldiers hostages. We know it's big. And so for the next hour, we're driving back and forth in the parking area. And once you're in the parking area, you don't see what's going on inside the festival because there are fences and the fences are covered. And this whole time, you hear the bullets, you hear shootings, and we are sure that at that time that the army is there and that this is a gun battle because you hear them shooting automatic, and then you hear single bullets. And if you like, every soldier in Israel knows, like, we don't shoot automatic. Automatic, it's like, to do as much damage. No soldier will ever shoot automatic. So you hear this and say, okay, these are the terrorists. And then you hear the single bullets and you think, okay, this is the IDF. So only afterwards, unfortunately, we understand that this is when the massacre happened. This is when most of the people were murdered at the festival area, inside the bar, inside the toilets, underneath the main stage, everywhere they were hiding in the tents. And well, at around 9, we understand that we have no choice, that we have to drive away. So we drive through the open fields and try to hit the main road. And a little bit before we reach the main road, 232, this is when we see 5 or 6 terrorists waiting for us. They were like hiding in the bushes. And even then, for less than a second, I thought these were IDF soldiers. They looked like us, like with the vest and with the gear and like combat fighters. But then you see the headband, the Hamas headband, and they immediately opened fire at us. And I was hit. The bullet went through I was sitting in the back on the right side. So the bullet went through the car door, through my right leg and into my left. I immediately felt it. The pain was, well, cannot describe it. It was very painful. And while I got shot, I'm talking to my wife. And so I got hit and my phone drops on the floor. And the first instinct was, okay, I have to call her back. So I'm picking up the phone. It's full of blood. I have to clean it. I cannot open it with my fingers because everything is with blood. So I managed to call her back and I'm telling her everything is fine. Don't worry. We're with the police and we're trying, to get to safety, and don't worry. So we managed to escape these terrorists and we hit the main road and there are more terrorists waiting for us. This time they shoot us from the front, and this time they also hit the engine. So somehow we managed to escape them. I was a little bit blurred, like, of the adrenaline and the pain.
Was anyone else shot in the car?
Yeah, unfortunately, my friend that was sitting in front of me was also shot in his back and in his neck. And so we managed to escape them and decide to hide in this orange tree field. Well, the car wasn't driving anymore. It was rolling into this field. And this is when I know the first thing is to do, like, to stop the bleeding. So I take the shirts of my friends and I'm doing a tourniquet with the t-shirts, and then they try to take me out of the car, me and Amit, who was sitting in front of me. And I told them, guys, I can't. When you move me, I'm passing out. It's too much pain. So I'm lying next to the car. Amit is lying next to me, and
everybody's hiding between the in the orange tree and the grove there.
And a friend is climbing the tree immediately. It's like hiding on the tree, and then we realize there are like 15 young guys, young people like 20, 22 years old, also hiding in the bushes and coming to check on us to see how we are. Like every 5 minutes for the next 4 hours, they come and check on me. And so I'm lying next to Amit. We hear the terrorists. You have to imagine, it's still a battlefield. You hear the bombs, you hear grenades, you see the rockets in the sky. And, it's like the first thought was not, like, what do I do? It's not if they come, it's when they come, the terrorists. The first thought is when they come, what should I do? Should I let them take me hostage, or should I open the tourniquet and bleed out and die? And there's all these dilemmas that goes through your mind. You know, it's unfortunate. I wish that no one in this world have to go through these dilemmas, especially not 22-year-old.
By the way, as you're talking about a bunch and hundreds of thousands actually of Jews running through a forest and hiding through. On one side it was a forest, the other side were orange groves, and the stories are similar of other survivors that I've spoken to, and then hiding out in the forest, hoping that they don't come find them. It's just reminiscent of the Bielski brothers. I don't know if you're familiar with the story of the Bielski brothers. They made a movie, Defiance, about it, and what they hid in the forest in Europe during the Holocaust, but for years, and they ended up fighting against the Nazis when they would come in, but they had to. It's very reminiscent in a really eerie way.
Yeah, well, um, I realized this a few months ago. It's the first time I spoke about my grandparents. So I'm third generation of Holocaust survivor, and today my daughter, she's unfortunately first generation of Nova survivor, and you know, it's like it's I have so much respect and love to them, like even more today, because without them knowing, they gave us the tools and taught us how to deal with what happened to us today. They not only built a family, they built a country, and they didn't go into the trauma and stayed at home. I had the best childhood growing up with my grandparents, and they taught us what it is to be strong and resilience and our values of every Jew, to respect each other, to love each other, to love the nature, and so I'm very grateful for my grandparents, and I'm very proud of them, and they gave us the tools. So I'm thinking about them a lot, of what they've been through, and October 7th. It's the biggest tragedy that happened to Jews since the Holocaust. But and our purpose now is again to follow what they taught us, and then to continue to focus on the light and to be resilient. This is our duty.
One thing you say, the words are important, and one thing you say, which I think is critical to point out, is you're not victims, and your grandparents weren't victims. Your grandparents were survivors, and you're a survivor. It's a very different mindset, right? It brings you strength and resilience to move forward, as opposed to being dragged down by the past. Right?
Yeah.
I think is very critical. We've spoken about that a little bit before. Tell me again. Let's finish out the story. You're lying on the side of the car with your friend who had been shot in the neck and in the back. You were shot through two legs. The other people who are hiding in the orange grove, checking on you every few minutes or every so often to make sure you're okay. You're talking to your wife on the phone, who is 9 months pregnant, telling her you're okay. You don't tell her you're shot. How does the story end there?
So unfortunately, Amit, he died 2 hours lying next to me after 2 hours. And fortunately for me, the rescue came almost 4 hours after we 4 hours after we were lying there. And these were civilians with their own trucks and from the villages around. You know, they didn't have to come, but they did this, and this is again exactly of who we are. They were risking their own lives to come and save us. And so I was rescued. I was rushed to the hospital. On the way to the hospital, this is when I told my wife that I'm injured, but she should not worry. And so while I'm in the hospital, the first couple of days, every 5 minutes, every an hour, we get the news. I get the news that another friend has been murdered, another family member has been murdered. It starts with 10, and then it goes up to 20 to 50. And you have to understand, it's 4,000 people, but we know most of them. It's a community that has been going to festivals in Israel and in Europe and around the world for the last 10 years. So the festival goers are between the ages of 22 and 50. And we understand immediately that if we don't take care of our community, then no one will. And so the next days we open a healing center, a place for the survivors and the families of the victims. 411 friends and family were murdered. a place for them to come and heal together. We understand after this facility was open for 2.5 months, every day more than 1,000 people came to this facility, and this was our first step, to step out of the darkness, to see the light. For me, it was also the first place I had the courage to go to, and immediately when I came there, it was like I felt at home.
Yeah, they understood what you were going through. What's incredible to point out is, there have been many other terrorist attacks around the world. In general, it's an attack, and then the attack's over, and then everybody heals together and moves forward and rebuilds. And this led to a war, which is still going on. Just understanding the societal aspect of it, especially Israel is a conscription army, so everybody serves. So there's been a war for 15 months now that started right after that. So it's not that it's the country just went back to normal and everybody was taking care of the survivors. Everybody has so much to worry about. So they're serving, or their kids, or their family members, or their friends. All the deaths that kept happening, or that continue to happen. People fallen soldiers throughout the war. And so in the middle of all that chaos, to create a space for the people who actually were at the Nova Festival was really incredible. But then it was more than a space. You ended up making this exhibit that came all over the world. Tell us about how that happened.
Yeah, so I want to mention before that we have young soldiers, like soldiers that were at the Nova Festival. They survived, and the next morning they went back to the army.
Unbelievable.
And it's incredible, like, what they've been through, and still I'm going to do what's best for my country, and I put everything aside and I'm going to the army. It's incredible, these young kids. And
I spoke to one person that's like that once, and he was saying it gave me more of a sense of purpose than I ever. Not that I needed it, but and now I really know what I'm doing.
So almost 2 months after October 7th, a little bit before Hanukkah and then in Christmas, Omri Sassi, one of the co-founders and producers, he lost his uncle, he lost his cousin who was 5 months pregnant, and her husband, and another friend that came with the uncle from LA. So he told us, guys, we have to do something in Tel Aviv for the memorial of our friends and family, because like we are a community without borders. We people want to come and pay their respects, and they have nowhere to go. So he comes with the idea to recreate the festival. So we built in Tel Aviv at the expo the main stage and the tents, and we bring everything from the festival area that was gathered from the police with their help. The tents and the burnt cars and the toilets and the speakers and everything, so people can come and just to see what Nova is. And a few days after we opened this, it was like, okay, it's not only for the memorial. This is such a strong tool to show the world what happened. There was so much denial, so much hate, still until this day. We didn't get any support from the music industry around the world. And Scooter Braun always says this, that he was the manager of Ariana Grande when there was a terror attack in Manchester. It was like 5 years ago. I think around 25 kids were killed on that day. And when that happened, no one in the music industry asked if this was a freedom fighter or why did he do it. Everyone was supportive. Everyone was against terrorism. And when this happened in Israel, then everyone was silent. So we understand that we have a tool to show the world. No one will shut us up. No one will tell us this didn't happen. And so we meet Scooter and Joe Teplo in Israel, in Tel Aviv. They came to the exhibit, and immediately after the first step, he stepped inside the exhibition. He comes to us, guys, we need to bring this to the States and show the whole world. So 4 months later, we opened this exhibition in New York. It was a big deal for us, with the help of Scooter and other amazing people on this team. And since then, we understand it's of course the first thing for the memorial, but this is also to educate people and also to fight hate and anti-Semitism. And when we come to a city, when we came to Miami, we're telling everyone, it's not only our exhibition, it's also yours. you should, to all the Jewish community, use this exhibition to bring your allies, to bring your friends, the non-Jews, because this has nothing to do with taking sides. It's very important for us that this exhibition stays, non-political. It's what happened at a music festival.
When you guys when you went to Burning Man, the big festival, if you guys don't know what it is, you're living under a rock. It's probably the biggest outdoor music festival in the country. I mean, it's like a Woodstock, but the size is tremendous. I don't know how many people.
80,000.
80,000. Yeah, just think about it. 80,000 people. But you guys were there and you set up your own tent, your own Nova tent. Said we will dance again, which is the motto that you guys came up with to sort of bring hope to your community. And I remember we were speaking the other day when we were walking around, and I saw the picture. I said, "How were you received by the community there?" And you kind of were trying to go from festival to festival, make that connection. And you said most people didn't know what it was, right?
Yeah, we had over 60 volunteers at this art installation, and everyone who came there, these volunteers approached the burners, the Burning Man goers. Like, they approached them and asked them, "Do you know what this is?" And we were surprised that most of them had no idea. And then these volunteers, they told them, explained them, "This is Nova. This is the tent of Nova." And we had these angels with the names of the victims on this like DNA art installation. And when these people, when they came and heard about it, they told us, the volunteers, that a lot of them just fell on the floor and started to cry. And yeah, I was very surprised that so many didn't know about it. So it gives us more strength.
Forces.
It gives us more strength and to continue to do this, because this should never happen. It doesn't matter if it's in Israel or in another Arab countries. The festival is supposed to be, the safest place on earth, the dance floor, and this should never happen to anyone anywhere, and it doesn't matter.
I think it's just a symbol of civilian life, right? Terrorism is wrong wherever it happens. When you say dance, a peace festival, which is really what it was, a peace dance festival, it's like the perfect example of what civilian life is, and it highlights the terrorist nature of the attack, right? This wasn't any sort of military operation against an army. This was just a terrorist attack. So tell me, the exhibit went first to L.A.?
It went first to New York.
New York.
How long
were you there?
We had we extended. We were there 2.5 months.
Wow.
And it was incredible. Like, to see all the Jews at the beginning, Jews coming together. And we saw that this exhibition is also uniting us, because at these times we have to be united, and there's not even a question. Together we are the strongest, and when we unite, we make magic happen. That's the way I see it. And then we moved to LA for another 2.5 months. And now we open here on December 18th, and we're going to stay until February 16th. And it's very important that also about this exhibition, it tells, the journey of what we've been through before October 7. It's a journey from the light to the darkness and then to the light again. It's very important for us that the people that go through, Jews and non-Jews, see the light at the end of this exhibition, because this is what it's all about for us. The most unimaginable thing happened to us on October 7th, but what happened after, you cannot deny it. There's so much light that happened. Well, first of all, my daughter was born 4 weeks later. Her name is Eliana. I think you also have a...
No, my niece is Eliana.
Niece is Eliana. And it means God answered. And but so many people came to us at the healing facility, and then for the exhibition, and came to us, the most amazing people and producers, and come to us. They say, "Guys, we know what you've been through, but we are here to help you." And they dedicated also their life on this mission, to show the world and help us. And without even knowing us, they just saw us, who we are and what we need. And this is exactly of the values that we talk about, of being kind and respecting and doing things without asking to get back, just pure love and pure respect. And I think that is, someone asked me, how do you feel about being a Jew and the exhibition, and No, I said I've one of my best friends. He's very religious, Joe Taplow, and we share the same values, and that's for me, to be that's what it means for me to be a Jew. That these values and to spread good in the world and to be kind to people and so we've been experiencing this since October 7th, and so this is what we focus on. The survivors and me, I'm also one of the survivors, of course. We always say we don't want to feel like victims anymore. We deal with the psychiatrists and the psychologists, but the foundation that we opened 2 months after October 7th, this is what it's focusing on, to come back to life. We will dance again. It's not, we lived with our whole life with never again,
Right.
and with this sentence, but, I think this is how we evolved. We will dance again. We will show the world what happened, and we will do this again and again and again, and that's exactly, to show who we are. And this is what we focus on, to bring us back to life, the survivors back to life. The ticket sales of this exhibition, it goes to the foundation in Israel. And we just signed a lease for the next 20 years. It's called the House of Nova, a place where also the survivors and also the families of the victims come and heal with alternative ways of healing. It's like a community-based approach. Once you belong to something, it's much easier to heal. So we have retreats and sound healing and plunge bath,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Cold plunges.
cold plunges, and all these activities.
One thing, I don't know if you've connected this, but it seems like it's also the story of the modern day state of Israel, right? So Jews have been in the land of Israel since time immemorial for 4,000 years or so. But after the Holocaust was the final impetus to create a state that had been trying for several decades before that, finally made the push. And together, instead of sitting and just licking their wounds from the Holocaust, they had a common purpose, a community. Let's build something together. It seems like that's what you're doing here. I could tell you the impact isn't just in the Jewish community. I was with Mayor Adams in New York City just a couple weeks ago. First thing he said to me was, "Gabe, have you seen this Nova exhibit?" I said, "I haven't seen it yet. It's coming to Miami." He told me all about it and how important it is, how critical it is for the community to see it and how well done it is. And I think that's a key aspect. I know you guys are doing that. You're bringing students, you bring political leaders, thought leaders, and just trying to get people to understand what's going on. I want to compliment you for staying away from the space that I live in. I live in the political space, and this podcast is a political podcast. This one won't be, I promised myself, really, because I wanted to respect what you guys are doing here. And in Israel, everything is hyper-politicized right now. Everything from, people don't realize this, but even discussions on hostages, even in public, the way you say certain words, let them go or bring them home, it has all these political weight on it, which it shouldn't. And it's just sort of the way our society has become. And you guys are really making an effort to say, no, this is going to be about what happened at the festival and respecting that and honoring that and remembering it, making sure it doesn't happen again, without, as best you can. I'm sure there's some foot faults, but as best you can, stay away from politics. So just wanted to thank you for everything you're doing. This isn't your full-time job. You're in real estate in Europe, in Israel. You're taking all the time away to heal, but also to build something incredible. So I'm proud to be your friend. Thank you for letting me into your world a little bit here.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much.